Welcome to the deep dive, where we take the sources you share with us and really dig into the most important ideas, facts, and insights.
We're basically your shortcut to getting informed, pulling out those surprising bits and, the deeper meanings you might otherwise miss.
And today, wow, we're plunging into some truly fascinating material. Excerpts from H.G. Wells's classic 1899 science fiction novel, The Sleeper Awakes.
That's right. And specifically, parts of the revised edition from 12 years later, which, interestingly, includes Wells's own notes about how he wrote it.
So our mission for this deep dive is to explore what Wells imagined the future might be like, looking back from 1899. But maybe more importantly, to uncover the core insights, the critiques, the surprising observations hidden in that vision, all through the eyes of a man who's suddenly thrown centuries forward.
Exactly. It's not just a story, is it? It's like a time capsule of hopes, fears, and predictions from over 100 years ago.
Let's jump right in. What's immediately striking, actually, is Wells' own introduction to this revised edition. He's pretty honest, isn't he?
Oh, remarkably so. He admits writing the original under considerable pressure. He says it has marks of haste, especially the later parts.
Yeah, he even says he preferred working on a different book back then, Love and Mr. Lewisham.
Right. And coming back 12 years later to revise The Sleeper Awakes, he calls himself an editorial elder brother, basically cutting out what he called long, tiresome passages.
So right off the bat, we know Wells himself saw flaws. But it also tells us he thought the core ideas were strong enough to revisit, to refine.
Definitely. It sets a certain tone. We're looking at a work with powerful ideas, even if they were maybe quickly sketched out sometimes.
Okay, so the story begins. Our protagonist, Graham, he's in a really bad way.
Yeah, and not because of some big drama, but just insomnia, severe insomnia.
The source says no sleep at all for 6 nights. His brain is just whirling.
He's so exhausted he can't even handle strong drugs. It sounds awful.
And this sort of everyday problem spirals into something totally bizarre. He meets this guy, Isbister, who tries to help.
But Graham doesn't just fall asleep. He goes into this state of cataleptic rigor, really stiff.
Which then shifts to a flaccid state, just completely limp and unresponsive.
And they can't wake him. Reanimation fails, as they put it.
Then the source gives us this jump forward in time. It's quite stark. We see Isbister and another man warming years later.
Yeah, and they're talking about how their lives have moved on. Isbister's married, got gray hair, his sons go to Harvard. Warming's old now, remembers playing cricket with Graham as a boy.
All while Graham is just still there, looking young, while everyone else ages around him.
And Isbister mentions almost casually, 12 years now have passed.
It's such a subtle but effective way Wells shows time passing for everyone but Graham. Kind of foreshadows the much, much bigger time jump to come.
Which brings us to the awakening, which is, well, astonishing.
His return to consciousness is really vague at first. He feels recumbent, faint, but alive.
He senses these vast gulfs, epochs, these huge dreams that felt like terrible realities. You get that feeling of immense time lost.
Physically, it's really disorienting, too. He touches something smooth and hard glass, we find out later. Struggles to move, feels dizzy.
And then he just looks around, amazed. He's in this vast apartment of splendid appearance. Greenish glass enclosure, silvery furniture, food, drink.
And he's starving, which is such a human detail, right? Amidst all the strangeness.
And here's a weird bit from the source. He touches the glass wall to steady himself, and it just breaks. Vanishes like a pricked bubble.
Wow.
Yeah. So he stumbles out into this main space, huge archway, steps down this passage between pillars made of some kind of deep, ultramarine polished material.
He starts hearing things too, human movements, voices, and this constant deep droning note.
He realizes he's naked, finds a black robe, drinks this colorless liquid from a bottle. His first taste of the future, I guess, gives him immediate support and stimulus.
But he's totally lost. He wonders if he's in Boss Castle, like back home.
Yeah, the place feels like it's subtly vibrating. He sees an opening in the roof and this steady, sweeping shadow passing over, making its own sound. Beat, beat.
Which is?
That's the sound of the future's transport systems. He doesn't know it yet, of course.
He heads towards the archway, finally meets 3 people.
They try to explain, you were in a cataleptic trance.
And he asks them to send an electric telegram to his cousin. Perfectly normal for him.
But they're confused. They think he means a wire. It's that little mismatch in language.
Wells uses that brilliantly to set up the big reveal, doesn't he?
Totally. The technologies, the words are different, and then bam, the truth hits him.
The source says he just realizes, looking at their faces.
And the man with the flaxen beard tells him straight. His trance lasted 200 years. 2 centuries of years.
His reaction is pure disbelief. I'm dreaming. This is a joke.
But you can tell it's sinking in. It's undeniable.
His first questions are so telling. Trying to make sense of it using his own times concepts, asking about a mill or dynamo.
Right. He just says things have changed tremendously. Understatement of the century. Or 2 centuries.
Yeah. And even basic stuff like money is baffling. 6 lions. What even is that?
He has to explain that das means dozen, and they used to have pounds. It shows how fundamentally things like language, economy just shift over time.
So he's still disoriented, tired, even after that future drink. They take him up in a lift.
And from there, he sees the city ways, tubes, cables, these frail-looking bridges, crisscrossing this absolutely huge place.
He crosses a glass bridge. It's near 400 feet up.
Yeah, and he looks down at these swarming blue and red multitudes, tiny people below. Makes him giddy, like looking off a cliff. Wells really establishes the vertical scale, the sheer size of this future London, right away.
As they hurry him along, he notices new things. Negroes in a curious wasp-like uniform of black and yellow.
It's a glimpse into the future's social structure, maybe change demographics, possibly racialized roles. Wells includes it, doesn't dwell on it in the text, but it's there for you, the listener, to notice.
He ends up in a gallery overlooking a massive hall he'd glimpsed before. People are whispering, "The Sleeper." His first kind of public appearance.
The hall itself is immense, huge proportions. There's this giant statue, a mighty laboring figure of Atlas.
And on a big stage, he sees them. The group of 7 men who stood about a table in white robes.
The council. The rulers of this world.
But he's not brought before them. He's left with guards in red uniforms, the Wind Vane police. Told to wait. "Orders, sire!"
And he immediately picks up on the tension, right? Asks about shouting, tumult, unrest. He senses he's connected to it somehow.
Yeah, Howard, one of the guys who found him, is evasive. Says his awakening was unexpected, the council's figuring things out. Graham's not buying it. He knows he's being held.
And that feeling of being held, basically imprisoned, continues in the rooms they put him in. The world outside feels weird, quivering like a thing alive.
He finds a kinetoscope. The source calls it a latter-day substitute for a novel.
Which is brilliant, isn't it? Wells predicting moving pictures with sound, replacing reading for many people, passive consumption instead of active engagement.
He watches one a tragedy about common folk, finds the intense realism striking.
And he makes that key observation. These machines have fixed the language, made it understandable after 200 years, like mass media freezing linguistic change.
But then he finds other recordings, a sensuous musical thing, and something he calls photographed realities, a 22nd century Venusberg debauchery, basically.
And it triggers his archaic indignation. His Victorian morals just clash head-on with future standards. He even tries to smash the machine, gets an electric shock for his trouble.
Technology bites back.
Exactly. It's not neutral. It reflects and shapes morality. And it defends itself, apparently.
He's really struggling to process all this, which leads to that powerful reflection.
Oh, yeah. We were making the future. And hardly any of us troubled to think what future we were making. And here it is.
That's a core message from Wells, isn't it? A warning about just letting progress happen without thinking about the human cost, the unintended consequences.
Definitely. He starts to get the scale of things. Gigantic city, huge crowds, but also deep unhappiness. He realizes it is London, but strangely un-English, the rest of the world. An enigmatical veil.
He feels tiny, conspicuous, lost in this strange world, pacing, doubting, but also getting angry, suspecting a system of concealment. He even lets out some archaic curses, his 19th century frustration boiling over.
He's trying to figure out the council's game. Why is he here? Is he in danger? Escape seems impossible into this vast, crowded world.
And then that really chilling thought comes to him, that quote about political expediency.
It is expedient for us that one man should die for the people. Yeah. He suddenly thinks the council might see him that way. Disposable.
So while he's basically locked up, stewing on this, he hears sounds from the ventilator.
A voice.
And then, incredibly, someone comes through the ventilator. A stranger. Says he's from someone called Ostrog. Asks if Graham's the sleeper. The guy acts fast. Tapping at the door hinges with a steel wedge.
And the reveal is sudden, dramatic. Ostrog's people are busting him out because his life is in danger. The council decided, today, either to drug or kill you.
Whoa. Close call.
Seriously. And the stranger explains Ostrog has raised forces. The people, the Wind Vane police, engineers, half the Waygearers, they're armed, shouting against the council.
And why? Why are they doing this?
The people have risen to protect you, sire. That's the line. Graham is now, suddenly, the symbol of a revolution.
Just then, Howard, the guy from before, shows up with a tray.
Which the stranger immediately identifies. Your poison. Howard gets taken out fast with the steel wedge. Lights go out. Chaos.
A ladder comes down through the ventilator. Graham's fears about the council are totally confirmed. He hesitates. Understandably, it's all happening so fast, so violently, but he goes.
The escape road is insane. Onto the roof spaces. Endless moving bands, gutters full of slushy snow, this terrifying drop below him.
From up there, he sees the city as this gigantic glass hive. Lights, moving platforms, cables, those frail bridges, it's huge and scary from that perspective.
And then, battle breaks out below. The source calls it very wild and strange. The ground looks ghastly white, there's this crackling sound, faint flashes. Men are fighting with little green metal carbines. Urban warfare on a scale he couldn't imagine.
He gets onto a cable somehow, terrifying right up. Then he falls into a brightly lit hall packed with people.
A roaring multitude. His supposed saviors. The people. His people. They cheer him, shout, saved the master.
He's helped up by Lincoln, another guy involved in the rescue, and a girl, Helen Wotton. But Graham's still lost. Why try to drug me? He's the focal point of revolt he barely understands.
The crowd noise changes. Becomes this unified chant backed by music, a march in pageantry. People are beating time tramp.
He gets swept up in it, given a black mantle, urged onto a stage.
The scale is just immense. The hall, the swaying crowd, all those faces flushed, pale, sick, gaunt. People constantly flowing in from side passages. The rhythm takes him over. His brain was tramping. It's both thrilling and frightening.
Then the lights dim, go out, plunging the hall into roaring darkness. Down below, the street fighting becomes a monstrous struggle.
He hears it all fighting, screams, shouts of, "The Red Police!" Weapon flashes. He's caught in the crush, pushed around, stumbling over people, hearing screams underfoot, shouts of the sleeper everywhere.
He somehow breaks free, reaches a barrier, some feeder seats, throws off the cloak so he's less conspicuous, fights his way out, runs through dark passages, across open spaces, down steps.
He hears people shouting warnings, "Get out of the fighting! The guards are firing!" He notices women and children are caught up in this too. Finally reaches a higher, quieter level.
Alone again. He wanders for miles through these twilight ways, trying not to be recognized. The whole city is alive with battle sounds, armed men moving around.
The areas change. Deserted streets, stark buildings, a district of vacant warehouses. And in this quiet, the doubt returns. Is this real? Is it a dream? Is he back in Boss Castle?
But then he sees a squad of men march past carrying a black banner. The reality of the fight sinks back in, grimly.
And he bumps into this old man wandering alone in the dark. The man's terrified, just babbling about Ostrog and the fighting. Calls Ostrog the greatest boss the world has ever seen.
The old guy explains the backstory. The council wasn't popular, they held elections, rejected Ostrog twice. That made Ostrog furious. So he raised the labor companies, all the blue canvas armed and marching to take them down. This is the force Graham saw erupting.
And then the old man drops a bombshell. He claims a real sleeper actually died years ago.
What?
Yeah, and that the sleeper everyone's talking about now is just a poor, drugged, insensible creature they swapped in. A fake.
That completely changes everything, if it's true.
Absolutely. It undermines Graham's entire existence in this future. And the old man says he knows this from printed books from his childhood. He dismisses the current newfangled babble machines, saying they're easy to hear, easy to forget.
That's a sharp critique from Wells, isn't it? Old knowledge versus superficial, easily forgotten mass media.
Totally. The old man even knows the original sleeper's name was Graham. Mentions Isbister leaving him the fortune, how the council started as trustees. He knows the history.
So Graham tries to tell him, "No, I'm him. I woke up 4 days ago."
But the old man just waves it off. Thinks Graham is just another confused person caught up in the Ostrog hype. It's incredibly frustrating for Graham.
While they're arguing, they hear shouting, "Ostrog's won! Capitulation! Ostrog, hurrah!" Graham notes the dialects are weird, indistinct. Pidgin English, and what the source calls a nigger dialect. Wells showing linguistic fragmentation and social layers in speech.
Graham needs answers. He heads for the Wind Vane offices. Tough getting through the crowds. Argues with guards. Finally gets a message through claiming news of extraordinary importance for Ostrog.
And Lincoln, the rescuer, shows up, sees Graham, absolutely astonished. "Yes, it is you, and you are not dead."
That confirms it, doesn't it? The old man's story about a double wasn't just random babbling. Something was going on.
So Graham finally meets Ostrog, tells him a whole story, the escape, the old man, everything.
And Ostrog's reaction is ice cold. Calmly confirms it. Yes, he was preparing your double.
Wow.
Because the whole revolt hinged on the idea that Graham was awake and leading them. Ostrog says the people at the theater needed that symbol they wouldn't have trusted otherwise.
So the revolution was built on a potential deception.
Seems like it. Ostrog declares victory. They struck fast. The Wind Vane people, the labor company, they burst the bonds. Crucially, they seized the airplanes. That was essential to stop the council escaping and to control the city.
The city just rose up. Every third man almost was in it. All the blue workers, most public services. They rescued Graham, broke the red police. London was theirs. Only the council house held out.
Ostrog explains half the remaining red police got wiped out trying to recapture Graham after he vanished into the crowd. They lost their nerve, got cut off.
Graham sees the end on a screen. The council house, a ragged, massive white building, isolated by destruction. Then the black surrender banner.
And Ostrog's just ruthless about it. Talks about the casualties almost indifferently. It's all about the strategic win. He tells Graham this city is basically all that's left of their empire. Abroad, cities revolted or are waiting to see what happens. Graham's awakening perplexed them, paralyzed them, giving Ostrog the opening he needed.
And the flying machines. The council had them, but the pilots, the aeronauts, sided with the revolt or just refused to fight, especially once Graham got away. Control of the key tech was vital.
Yeah. And Graham has this dawning realization. This world, this chaos, this power, it's all technically his, built on his inheritance. He's not just watching anymore.
So Ostrog wins. The revolution settles down. Business resumes. The news goes out. Graham gets an attendant, Asano, who's Japanese and speaks English. Another Wells detail about a potentially more globalized future.
He's told he can't go out in public yet. Enormous excitement of the people? Too risky. So instead, he gets a view from the top, way up in the crow's nest of the Wind Vane Keeper, 1,000 feet up.
The view must be incredible. City, ruins, victory staging areas, the waterway, those moving platforms.
And in the distance, the hills, Surrey, Highgate, Muswell Hill, covered in wind wheels bearing vast advertisements. Advertising literally dominating the landscape.
He asks about the countryside, learns towns and villages are mostly gone, replaced by huge buildings like Bournemouth, surrounded by mechanized farms.
Yeah, Wells has this whole theory here about why cities grew so dominant. Old travel was slow, making local towns necessary. But new tech phones, kinetographs, phonographs replaced local institutions. Mechanical farming needed fewer workers. So everyone flocked to the cities for work and, well, the delights at night. The city swallowed up humanity. Man's new stage. Massive urban aggregation.
He attends a high society gathering, his first real look at the future elite. Their clothes are theatrical, men like Raphael's cartoons walking. Women's dress varied, often revealing.
And they have taught gestures. An appropriate set of gestures is part of education. Like social interaction is a performance. There are subtle class lines. He gets introduced to the inner group.
Then the conversation turns to education, and it gets really creepy.
Oh, yeah. Hypnotize children as machine minders. Their minds deliberately quieted, released from the long, long thoughts of youth.
They call it psychic surgery. Hypnotists print or erase memories, remove habits, desires. Wells is hitting hard here on the potential for technology to control and dehumanize. Graham instinctively distrusts it, calls it a surrender of personality.
And for the literate class, 500 phonographs lecturing at once on literature, students write essays. They boast the illiterate middle class of Graham's time is gone. It's a future split between a massive working class and a small, educated elite. No middle ground.
He meets the head of the Pharmacopoeia Trust, dispensing myriad pills a day. Graham's reaction is priceless. Pills, what a wonderful time it is. Part awe, part horror.
Wells maybe saw our reliance on pharmaceuticals coming. Doctors wear purple, paid by fees, socially separate.
No authors at the party, though. They're queer people, too quarrelsome. But a fashionable capillotomist, a fancy hairdresser from Capri is mentioned. Status symbols have changed.
He even learns the Anglican bishop has a subsidiary wife. Clerical monogamy is over. Graham's baffled by the term. Another clash of social norms.
And despite his democratic roots, Graham starts feeling it, the respect, the deference. He becomes more convincingly regal. Power starts to corrupt, even accidentally.
So he spends some days learning to fly, recovers his health, enjoys seeing the land from above, figuring out the controls with an aeronaut.
He loves the machinery, the experts, prefers it to the party crowd. Lincoln even suggests he could become a proper aeronaut. He feels like the master, but There's that nagging feeling, the mockery of it all. It's not earned power.
He sees the black police again. Ostrog defends them. Fine, loyal brutes. No ideas, just muscle. Graham's horrified.
He experiences the city at night after the revolution, all color and light. But underneath, he hears that crude, thick dialect of the illiterate workers. The class divide is starkly audible.
And then there are the babble machines. Just shrieking ads everywhere, even for religion. Be a Christian without hindrance to your present occupation.
Graham's appalled. This is appalling. Lack of reverence. But Asano, his attendant, is just like, yeah, that's normal. Wells nailing the trivialization, commercialization of everything. Information overload.
Asano explains how the city evolved. Economy of cooperation, fewer private homes as people got tamed, comfortable with public life, like Victorian middle-class folks forced into public dining. An interesting idea about comfort eroding individualism.
News comes in via the General Intelligence Machine. Paris, pacified by black police. Bravery, yes, but also torture, mutilation. Graham asks about black police in London. Asano gives him a look.
Then a rival news machine starts screeching, "Yaha, yeah, yeah." Hear a live paper yelp, reporting Parisian reprisals. Savage chimes come again. Blood, blood. While Ostrog's machine insists on law and order. It's like future Fox News versus CNN, maybe. Sensational, biased media.
Graham feels more and more helpless. Learns there are more black police regiments, maybe brought to London. Ostrog has his own forces beyond the revolutionaries. Graham wants to get rid of the babble machines, change the information flow.
He visits an international creche syndicate, sees babies, little pink creatures, just left alone. No cuddling, no affection. Graham's repulsed. It feels inhuman.
The doctor defends it with statistics. Lower mortality than mother's arms. That cold, clinical logic again, clashing with Graham's gut feeling.
Then he sees the parents of these babies at the dancing hall. Splendid place. Sculptures, couples dancing lightly dressed, artificial hair colors, incredibly skilled, like artistic gymnastics. This is the leisure class enjoying themselves.
But right outside, in the outer hall, crowds of people in blue canvas, the Labor Department workers, too poor to go in, someone dancing in rags, whistling the revolt song. Asano says lots are on strike or holiday because of the revolution.
It's such a stark visual contrast. Privileged leisure funded by excluded labor literally feet away.
Graham has this moment of insight, the logic of it all. Old virtues, like restraint, came from danger, insecurity. But for the rich in this future, danger and pain are removed. So no need for stoicism. Man is armed against pain, so he becomes eager for pleasure. Civilization has softened the elite.
He feels primitive, Paleolithic by comparison. His anger, fear, they're still raw. They seem muted. He sees the dancers are cheerful, delightful. But people are dying right now in London and Paris, so they can dance. Asano confirms it. Men are dying in London at that moment.
That's the brutal foundation Wells lays bare.
He insists on seeing more. Gambling and business quarters. Huge halls, frantic energy, merchants fighting, absolutely fictitious business, pure gambling, awful scarlet ads. Graham calls them parasitic lunatics. Wants to see the workers.
So they go to the underside, manufacturing districts, across the Thames on black barges. Dust, noise, smells, blue canvas everywhere. Men, women, kids. Overseen by non-blue managers and orange labor police.
And the physical difference is shocking. Pinched faces, feeble muscles, weary eyes, inferior physique, compared to the dancers and businessmen upstairs. This is the human fuel for the city.
He sees women in a factory with livid white lick's nostrils. Enamel disease. Graham's horrified. Asano mentions they could not stand that stuff without the purple, implying some drug or treatment only the bosses get. Chilling detail.
Looking down at men coughing in the dust, unloading stuff from barges, Graham makes the connection explicit. This brutal work is the foundation for all the splendor above.
And a tiny clue emerges. Asano learns from a worker that the black police were delayed getting somewhere because a girl in the wind vane offices warned people. Graham immediately wonders, was it Helen?
Alan Wotton? The story then loops back. Graham returns to the ruins near where he woke up. It's packed now. People, mostly in blue canvas, shouting, pushing towards the old council house.
And Ostrog shows up there. With Lincoln, those Negro attendants. Graham confronts him, just yells, "You monster!"
A freight breaks out. Graham, furious, fights back, knocks down Lincoln. But Ostrog gets the upper hand.
Just as Ostrog grabs him, the crowd outside erupts. "Save the master! The master is betrayed! The distraction works!" Ostrog loosens his grip for a second. Graham breaks free.
More fighting. Green weapons, steel blades. Graham sees a worker in blue stab one of Ostrog's attendants. The revolution is messy, brutal. He's pulled away by a bodyguard of revolutionaries, asks where Ostrog is. A man in yellow says he's captured.
So they take Graham up this narrow stairway, onto the scaffolding around the ruined council house, onto a stage. There's a monoplane waiting. Behind him, cranes, red machinery. He's supposed to speak.
Cameras, phonographs, gaping, glaring machines are pointed at him, ready to record his address to the people below.
And he freezes. Sudden fear. Feels inadequate, theatrical. Asks the man in yellow for a moment. Just then, news comes in. Their airplanes are over Madrid. The revolution's spreading. Graham asks about flying stages. His mind jumps to strategy, to the air power.
He knows he has to speak. Wishes he could be eloquent, but decides it doesn't matter how he says it, just that he does. He's about to start.
And then running shouts of, "Wait!" A door opens. It's Helen Wotton.
Her arrival startles him, but grounds him too. She reminds him of his promise. So he begins, speaking to the machines, to the crowd.
Men and women of the new age, arisen to do battle for the race. No easy victory. This night is a beginning. All your lives. Fight. Take no thought, though I am beaten. I think I may be overthrown.
He talks about a new phase of being. His voice isn't steady, the recorders hum. Helen's silent presence keeps him going. He feels heroic, eloquent, just for those moments.
He ends with this powerful declaration, like making his will. All that is mine in the world I give to the people, and myself I give to you. As God wills tonight, I will live for you, or I will die. He felt it was deeper, truer, because she was there.
Then a bell rings, sharp and loud, cutting him off. He realizes Helen expects him to lead the people marching below, turn words into action.
He offers immediately, "Here I am doing nothing." But the man in yellow protests, "Too dangerous. A fight in a warren." Graham's role is symbolic, speaking.
But Graham insists he'll fly. Speak from the air. He gets it now, the power Ostrog understood. I have to show them I am the master, not Ostrog. The man reluctantly agrees.
Helen is pale, resolute, her hands wet with tears. She puts it in his, grips hard, just says, "Go." He feels her hand, sees her tears, knows he has to do it. No step back from these towering heroisms. He's committed.
Things move fast. Man in yellow runs off, gives orders, stage cleared, bell clangs. Graham goes to the monoplane, wades off anyone else, just the aeronaut. No, wait, he insists on flying himself.
So the aeronaut gives him rapid instructions, the basics, as they take off.
Wells describes the flight sensation so well. Vibration, the world shrinking below Thames Valley, fields, sewage ditches even. Graham feels pure exhilaration, shouts aloud, recognizes landmarks, South Downs, Portsmouth, the Needles.
He sees another plane, a big London airplane, passengers in cradles, engineer crawling on the wing, engines, the huge wing. He's just thrilled by this technology.
Refuses to land, wants to learn the machine, clings to the aeronaut, feels the wind, loses his hat. Learns about trade union rules against teaching amateurs to fly another glimpse of future society's complexities.
So days pass like this. Flying, healing, mapping the world from above. He still feels like the master, but also the mockery of his position. It's based on inheritance, not skill. Helen senses this too, asks if he'll really take charge. She fears he won't. Knows his power is just belief and illusion in people's minds.
He flies back over the battle zones, sees the aftermath, Streatham burning, chaos in Norwood, people fleeing into the underways.
He hears signal guns from the north. A signal, a note of triumph for the revolutionaries. Then a second gun.
And from his height, he spots it. A monoplane on Blackheath, taking off, running down guides, lifting, flying south, away.
The realization hits him like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It has to be Ostrog, escaping.
Graham shouts, dives his plane towards Ostrog's, using his altitude advantage. Ostrog climbs steeply to get away.
Graham calculates, allows for Ostrog's speed, and drives his plane straight at him.
And right there, mid-pursuit, mid-air battle, that's where the excerpts stop. The sleeper, now the master, chasing the man who put him there, fighting for control over this future he inherited.
Wow. So that's Graham's incredible journey, based on the sources you shared. From an insomniac in 1899 to the, well, accidental master of this future London, witnessing amazing tech like flying machines and kinetoscopes.
Alongside truly chilling social horrors. The city as a giant machine, the lost countryside, that bizarre elite society, the gestures, the morality,
Right.
or lack thereof.
Yeah, and the terrifying reality of the Labor Department slaves, the black police, those awful Babel machines, the hypnotism used for control, and just the messy, violent reality, a revolution that swept him into leadership.
This deep dive into Wells' vision, written so long ago, gives us so much to think about right now, doesn't it? For you, listening today.
Definitely. Think about that idea near the end that Graham's power wasn't real, earned power. It was an illusion based purely on belief in people's minds.
What does that suggest about power and leadership in any time, our time included? How much of the power we see around us today is based on perception, on the stories people believe, rather than, you know, concrete reality?
And all those other Wellesian predictions or critiques, the nonstop advertising, the institutionalized childcare, the casual cruelty beneath the pleasure-seeking surface, the fragmented biased news. And maybe Wells's future, even rushed as he admitted it was, prompts you to look again at our own strange, fast-changing world. What illusions might we be living under right now?